Hello, good people from the Playing from the Tips world. Rod Murray here with just a quick announcement before we get underway today. You'll note that there's a bit of a problem with Jimmy's audio in this episode. There was a technical glitch in the studio, which is code for somebody forgot to plug all of the microphones in before hitting record. That person probably wasn't Jimmy or Logue, but there's probably no real reason to be looking any further into it. So just a heads up, Jimmy's voice isn't terrific on here, but his input and his contributions are. Enjoy.
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid, so it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 118 of the Playing from the Tips podcast, Golf Australia Magazine's weekly deep dive into the world of professional golf that regularly dives off the deep end in search of sensible tipping and previews. Jimmy Emanuel here again attempting to maintain some sort of sense of order as we look ahead to PGA TOUR, LIV Golf League, LPGA, DP World Tour, and you've got it right, another major championship this time for the seniors. As almost always, the first of our so-called experts to join on all of that fun and more is a man who is, while part traditionalist, has also been known to thumb his nose at golf conventions. And if you've seen either of those appendages, you'd know how serious that is. Welcome, Rod Murray.
Oh, that's a nasty drive-by early. Fair. Look, I'm not denying it. It's fair. I do have
it's genetic.
Jimmy.
It's genetic. You can't help.
Similarly unable to be pigeonholed in one way when it comes to golf, our next so-called expert is like PGA Frisco as a first-time major venue. Considered by many to be hard work while still delivering entertainment and an all-round good result. Adrian Lodge.
Thank you.
I thought you meant underdone and not yet ready.
I'm going to say, I'm going to have some things to say about PGA Frisco.
This is a good time to do that. So like this time in every episode, we look back at the past week, the best, worst and remarkable bits of action. I think it's pretty obvious. We start with Minjee Lee. Third major championship, becomes the fourth Australian to win 3 majors. Pretty impressive all round, and she didn't have any problem with PGA Frisco.
Well, I wouldn't say that. She just had less problems than the rest. The way she played Saturday and then the way she started Sunday, that sort of told you just how relentlessly difficult the course was. That was some round of golf on Saturday. That might be one of the best I've watched for a long time. Just
extraordinary. You spoke about the wind being the biggest problem with the whole thing.
Yeah. Shout out to Mikey Patterson, by the way, her caddy, former caddy to Curry Webb.
It's caddy for Kari, caddy for Soyeon, caddy for a lot of people. And talked it completely out of a club on 18 with a second shot.
Yeah, that was really good, that conversation. Yeah.
Amazing to see, I'm about to win this major by 3, I'm going to hit this.
And for all of those who think they just carry the bag, that's why some of them get the big bucks.
Yeah.
Yep, just having to. That's what Steve Williams' key to success was. He was prepared to say no to Tiger in a way that Tiger would listen. But I'm sure I've told you before, I love that exchange they had once where you just heard Steve saying to him, I'm not saying you can't hit the shot. I'm saying it's not the shot to hit. And you could imagine that working for Woods, couldn't you, Zach?
Yeah.
That's a reasonable, rather than, no, don't do that. I'm not saying you can't hit it. You don't like Woods.
Yeah.
Just don't hit it.
But obviously a good week for Australians and Minjee particularly, but there was a few others as well. Austin Kim was very impressive on the last
Agreed.
There was a lot of good golf, but I think the main talking point is going to be the golf course and how hard it was, which mixed in with slow play. It was taking 6 hours. That went to a 2 tee start on Sunday with 3 balls. Mel Reid had quite a go about it all, about particularly the criticism of slow play for the LPGA, given how hard the golf course was and how inaccessible it was for the players playing based off stats on the Golf Channel, which if you were on Instagram particularly over the last couple, you will have seen most players shared her comments. So they all
tells you plenty, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's a player speaking about a player issue, and the players are going to back that up if it's close to what they think. But what are we thinking about PGA?
Let's go to Logue.
Well, I'm not going to lie. It didn't look good. It gave me sort of Royal Greens, King Abdullah economic city type of vibes.
Trying to conjure up an image of Royal Greens, and I'm the only thing I know about it was Sergio attacking the bunker that time.
It just looks permanently under construction.
Right, okay.
And this sort of still looked under construction. Like
all the houses
without
and stuff are being built.
Without the views, and it's going to have houses. So, I don't know, there's something with the textures and everything. It just didn't really work out. I was expecting prairie dunes type of stuff when we're talking about prairie land. And I don't know, it's partly agronomy, I guess. Like it didn't look like the natural grasses were really taking in the roughs, and the fairways were sort of a little bit patchy. Like, I don't know, it didn't look settled. And I don't know if it'll be settled by 2027 when the PGA Championship's going to be there. But
how much of it
we're going to see it a lot.
How much of do you think we can, because we know Gil Hands can design golf.
This is purely aesthetic, because I thought it played fantastic.
Yeah.
Like it was very tough conditions and way too hot for the tournament to be held at this time of year, apparently. And then dried out, like absolutely baked out by these winds and everything. But I thought it was still kind of playable. Like there was plenty of room. There was holes like that, the drivable par 4 on the back 9, where you look at that was just a brilliant hole. Like there was all that room out to the left where you could blast it out, where Minjee hit it out there on the final round, still made birdie. But every sort of meter you went to the right on that hole, the better the reward you got, to the point where if you landed on the green, you had the backstop on the green.
Exactly.
But there was far more risk with all of that. And it's just a brilliant design for a short par 4. And it was on show with the different shots that they were hitting into that hole, and which makes a mockery of some of the comments where they were saying good shots weren't rewarded, or it was...
I think that took away from the arguments about it wasn't maybe ready to have a major championship in terms of the condition.
Just the look. The look. I thought the design is outstanding. Like, and the holes were quite memorable, like, which is what I'm always looking for in these tournaments, where you're just landing into a venue and you've got to kind of learn it from watching a couple of hours of TV, and then it really enhances the viewing experience when you understand what's at stake, especially in the closing holes. And I thought it achieved that, actually. I could look at the holes, unlike Oakmont, which I've seen quite a few times now on TV. I still don't recognise anything.
Oakmont away, doesn't it? Because it just looks like the same hole cut.
I just don't recognise anything looking at Oakmont. Yeah. But this golf course, it didn't look great, but I could recognise every hole. And I thought that was good. Yeah, it had some character. Yeah.
In terms of scoring, it was tough. Like 3 players finished on a par cut at 8 over. It's not impossible.
No,
you had to play the right shots.
And there wasn't players having near 90. There was a couple of 80, 85 and things like that. But you just had to hit the right shots. And
Minjee showed how to do it.
Pretty poorly for a while on Sunday. Yep. Gave it back. She shot 2 over to finish at 4 under, I think.
4, 3, 3 or 4, I think, yeah.
I mean, like, she's shown them how to play.
She showed them how to play it. On 16, there's the red hazard on the right, no bunkers on the hole. And she just hit it in the left rough, and you're going to take your chances there. And she bunted it out short of the green. There was plenty of space in the run-ups to the greens, and she didn't get up and down. But still, it was like an easy bogey. Like, she probably could have made par.
I think each day you could see, and courses like this, when they get this tough, the players who are really playing well that day, and it is a day-to-day proposition, no matter how good you are, can shoot a really good number compared to the rest of it. We saw it with Austin Kim on the Sunday. We saw it with Minjee on the Saturday. But there might be 3 or 4. And I think that's a good reflection on the golf course. So you've really got to be playing well to shoot a good number. And then this is why I think Minjee and those players separate themselves. On the Sunday, when she's not playing as well, she still managed to hang on, get it around the golf course in a half-decent number. And I think what I was going to say, though, like, I think visually the aesthetics, part of the problem, how much of that problem is down to the fact that this is a development. So there's a whole bunch of building sites around the golf course. There was complaints about dust.
It didn't look like the whole scene, like the whole vista was very good, did it?
No.
I wonder how they'll go with, like, learning from this week from the coverage, where to put the cameras and stuff for the PGA.
Because everywhere they went, it looked like there was a terrible background.
Yeah. How to frame the holes and how to, like, where to put the grandstands, all that sort of stuff. Like, because there was absolutely no framing of the holes. I don't think they had any grandstands out there that I could tell. I don't know. It was
no crowds.
It was just
second major in a row. There was no crowds at the year, and that really does impact it. I think that's a terrible look on to give the tickets away.
It was barren and brutal looking. And KPMG's been one of those events over the years which has garnered huge crowds, and some of the places have been to. Yeah.
Unbelievable
Yeah.
But it's, again, time of year. It's hot. It's windy.
Yeah.
It looks a hard.
It really did.
Like, there's not a lot of
long walks.
want to go and spend the day out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, you know.
So
it's a
were
shame.
any players embarrassed, though, do you think?
No.
When will professional golfers realise nobody thinks you're getting embarrassed by the thing? Like, was it Nick Dunlap had 90 in the first round at the Masters. Nobody was embarrassed for him. Like,
cheered him home when he shot 70.
He just showed some bottle the next day and like came home. Everybody, golfers understand that golf is hard and it's a tough proposition and like you're just doing your best and like it's not embarrassing. What's embarrassing is writing that people saying, oh, they're trying to embarrass us. Nobody has ever thought a professional golfer is embarrassed by the way they're playing.
Although I do think similarly, all of us golfers also understand why you might walk off that golf course on that day and say exactly that. You feel like the world's against you but as a professional, you've got to temper that. It was interesting to see Lexi trying to walk back the stepping away from the game because people are saying, oh, I thought you'd retired and all that. You remember she was a week or two ago, she was saying, no, I never said that. Came up again. Got to be careful what you say. That's part of being
the embarrassing.
We're
referring to Stacey Lewis, of course, I should mention.
On the other things that happened over the weekend, Keegan Bradley makes birdie at the last two in his home area, not hometown. It's kind of close.
Did they ring the bell in his hometown? Didn't they used to do that for his auntie? Every time she won, they'd ring the bell, the town fire bell or something. So she won in Australia, I think, one year. It was like 3 a.m. and someone's out there ringing the fire bell.
Seems like such a New England thing.
Completely
like,
New England, exactly.
Bells.
Amazing. Well, we talked about it last week, didn't we? Yeah.
And he was a very deserving winner. Tommy Fleetwood hit a spike mark on 18 to miss. That's good.
It does, but, you know, he's hit a tree and bounced into the fairway at some point as well. It's golf, isn't it? We all know that. And you're allowed to tap him down now.
Yep.
Was the other thing. So Tommy sort of do that. I did want to mention one other, what I thought.
Was he embarrassed?
Was he embarrassed?
Interview afterwards. Was he embarrassed?
No.
He's all class.
Disappointed?
He's one of the classiest players in the world, I think. No, that's right. Not to mention that golf game. One other highlight from the weekend, Jimmy, and we were remiss probably not to mention it last week, the British Amateur was on. The winner was Ethan Fang. The world is a better place when Ethan Fang is the reigning British Amateur champion. That is one of the great names in golf, and I'd love to see him get to the very top of the game.
Yeah.
He's a serious player.
Yeah.
It could work for MI6 or something, or MI5 or something.
I think he's American, so that's unlikely.
Okay, well, CIA.
As well, a highlight.
Wonderful that he and Bradley won in the same week.
Everyone lost me. I think I haven't yet, but I must send Russell Swanson a message who was...
Oh, he was the ref. Yes.
Box.
For Keegan in that incident came out to the Australian Open a couple of years ago. I spent the entire tour summer leading up to it telling Swano, hey, I'm going to organise a reunion between you two. And he's such a nice guy, Swano, so anti-conflict that he was just like, you can't do it. So then on the first day he saw him, he went up and introduced himself to take the heat out of my proposed idea. That's great. I must shout out.
Indeed. Having said that, Jimmy, it does remind us, that incident, which was absolutely fantastic, and then a couple of years before after was Bubba Watson from the Veterans Can Kiss My Ass, playing with Steve Elkington, had a run-in with him about who was going to get
That's
first.
right, yeah.
Why don't we have more of that in golf? Why do they try and temper it? That's what you want to hear the players saying, not bitching about the golf course afterwards because it was difficult. Get on with getting in each other's faces.
Give Steve Elkington.
Yeah, well, you'll get a few. And last thing on that, Jimmy, am I overthinking it, or was there a method to pairing Rory with Keegan for the first two rounds, given the Ryder Cup in September is probably going to be quite contentious, and I suspect they're worried about it boiling over, particularly in New York, with New York crowds. I wonder whether there was a, listen, you guys go and talk about how you're going to keep this under wraps. Because there's no other reason for those.
Seems very deliberate, yeah.
You know, Rory doesn't play with that level generally, so interesting.
Very good. Final piece of business on last week is our own performance, probably more accurately my own performance. We had 2 wins and 4 top 10s. Minjee and Keegan both part of my magnificence.
Well done. Well done.
Outstanding weekend.
I think I picked Gino, didn't I?
Yeah. You'd have been pretty smug after 36
I was
holes.
feeling pretty good about myself at that point. Happy to see Minjee.
Our total is to 23 wins, I believe. 32 wins and 82 top 10s in 2025, which, Rod, you were telling me earlier, statistics unable to be beaten by any podcast that makes an outlandish claim about their own.
Yeah, I looked that up last night.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's daylight second, Jimmy. We are well and truly in front in that category.
On we go to the week ahead, and we'll go back to you, Rod, and LIV Golf Dallas.
LIV Golf Dallas. I won't read it out, but I will just say to people, go to the LIV Golf website and have a read of the about the course they've put up there. Hyperbole is the specialty of this league. That's
they get Arlo to write it, maybe.
I don't know who's written it, but it feels perhaps assisted by technology, maybe a bit of AI. Ooh. I mean, when was the last time you saw the word rapture in a golf course review?
Yeah.
Buckle up. Buckle up, people, because that's what you'll get. Anyway, Dow Golf Club is the name of the course. It's near Dallas in Texas, obviously, LIV Golf Dallas. Allegedly, Spieth and Scheffler are members.
Yeah, it's quite a popular club for...
Yeah. It looks an interesting golf course. The owner's an oil billionaire called Albert Huddleston. So he apparently has aspirations to host a PGA or a US Open. My brief look at the golf course suggests that's probably unlikely. I think he was also... I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It just doesn't look like a major venue waiting to happen.
Well, I've had enough prairie land for the time being.
Well, I think he was also keen to get a PGA Tour event. I'm going to guess that didn't happen, and perhaps this is how we ended up here, as this is a LIV Golf venue, because I suspect amongst the courses that are considered for professional events, if you're in one, you're not in the other. That would be my thinking. Anyway, really penal-looking golf course. Quite an interesting-looking golf course, but a really penal-looking golf. Bunkers are incredibly deep, really steep faces, lots of really sharp landforms. They completely redid the place in 2017. The course has been there since 100 and something years, so It will certainly sort of, you would think, test the players. Here's the problem. I went out to look at that. They played the team championship here last year that Cam Smith and then won. I was trying to figure out, what sort of scoring I might expect to see. I couldn't make head nor tail of the format, Jimmy. I think was there a match play component first off, and then there was a team. So I don't know. They finished 11 under Ripper Golf Club last year. The team
doesn't seem very low, does it, for a team?
Yeah. What does that tell you? I'm guessing it's a very difficult golf course. Is what I'm going to suggest. So the short game probably a little bit neutered because it's so severe, but that kind of also plays in the hands of the very best short game players. I'm guessing that you're going to see a lot of people missing greens, and it's going to be very difficult to get up and down. Cam Smith shot the best score of the last round last year in the teams, and he had 68. So it tells you it's quite difficult. In terms of LIV, it's a bit samey, isn't it? It's the problem. One of the problems with LIV. Mm-hmm. It's a bit samey, and we're halfway through the year.
The field and what's going on, you mean?
Well, yeah, with the field.
Because that should be a strength, right?
It was sold as
F1's a bit samey. Like, there's the same 22 drivers every week. And
does it work?
That absolutely works.
No, for golf, I mean.
It should, but you don't have the 22 best in the world like you do in F1.
Even if
you've got a handful of the very best and then a lot of filler.
I think the idea, in theory, has maybe if it was 54 or whatever the number is now, players.
52, I think.
That were the absolute best in the best. You'd be, okay, this is exciting to watch them take on new golf course. And stuff. Yeah. But so much of watching a golf tournament is watching an unexpected story, challenge a best player and all that sort of stuff. And it just doesn't come through in that same way. Hasn't
the game been more interesting since Lowe conjured up Ben Griffin?
Yeah.
And that's what we're missing out on with LIV in some ways. So where are we with LIV, do you reckon? $50 million was the purse for that team championship. It's got to the point where you're just desensitised to it. $50 million was the purse for that tournament last year. And there's $20 million a week.
There's got to be a bit of a reckoning with all these contracts expiring and a few of their big names dropping off, and then what are you left with? Like, the whole thing is hanging on the reputation of these players, who a lot of them just drifting.
If it's still going in 3 years, what will it look like? When you're probably then beyond, for the most part, Brooks Koepka. How long has Bryson got to the top? But maybe more than 3 years. But how long can 3 players or 4 players carry the whole thing? I think Dustin Johnson's dropped off the radar as a player to watch. Cam Smith, the same thing's happened to him.
Yep. There's not a re-upping of new coming through. The most recent signing is a guy who won the US Amateur, Jose Luis Ballester. But
good player, no doubt.
He can play. I'm sure he's a wonderful golfer, but it's going to take time for him to develop. And he he's not going to go. He's not going in as an absolute superstar. He's not going into a stacked team. He joined Sergio's team, which is understandable, Spanish speaking and all that sort of stuff. But it just, it's stagnant.
It's what it feels like. Good call. Good word.
Yeah.
Good word.
And it's not proving to be a good development ground for players who are at that level and looking to consolidate their careers and become the very top players in the world. They're just not using it as a step. It's just not happening.
One of the things I see as an issue is that they've created this rabid fan base, which is good. You want...
Sure, you want fans who are interested. Yeah, absolutely.
In the current world of how social media, they're so rabid and so defensive and so, disservicing of other products that then the person who sits on the fence sees it as has to be, and they look at that and go, I don't want to be.
Yeah, there's a gatekeeping type of sense. It's toxic as well. It's toxic.
It was the opposite of that. Yeah. It was for everyone, and it hasn't transcended golf fans like the idea was outside of Apple.
Yeah, there's a nastiness to it, isn't there?
That gets thrown out the window because LIV intentionally throws out the window and goes, this isn't about what team you support and whether you hate the PGA Tour. This is about as a party. And that's the 1 week they get it.
Yeah. The format generally, I'm interested in it.
Yep.
The idea, the concept always sounded interesting, didn't it?
Yep.
But it just doesn't seem to have crystallised.
I just think the execution's not quite right with the way the teams are structured and the way the coverage doesn't, and the between event coverage as well.
It's just,
again, you look at what F1 does with the teams and all of the controversy and secrets and swaps and rumors and all that sort of stuff, and they make the team principles into personalities as well, and it's just you just understand everything that's at stake with every drive, this guy's career's on the line or whatever.
Not the money though, is it? And it feels to me like
no, it's not.
LIV,
It's not
they've
about
made
the money.
it the money.
Yeah,
and that's just not compelling enough for people to watch.
Yeah. So there's all of that drama and intrigue in F1, which they just failed to create here. But I think they've got the format over 3 days that, fits the TV windows. I still think, you might have a few things about the golf course that you want to highlight, Rod, but you can mention holes, and there's no way I'll be able to track what holes you're talking about when I'm looking at a shotgun start. There's just no way. There's just random jumping all around the golf course. You just can't learn the golf course.
Is it just that we're not the demographic? It looks to me like in reality, the broader golf market has said no to LIV or whatever about LIV. I think most golf fans are interested in Adelaide every year because it looks like it's good fun.
Yeah.
And after that, I think most just drop off in terms of LIV.
Yeah.
So how do they find that magic again? You can't just repeat that everywhere because we know it doesn't work.
And it's totally gaslighting the whole golf world. Point at Adelaide and go, look how successful we are. Just enough with that. It's okay, one tournament a year, you've got some success, and I don't even think it's profitable. But
how could it be profitable?
But it's just gaslighting the whole world to keep going on about that. Look at Adelaide. For God's sakes, enough.
We look at Adelaide once a year. What else have you got? It's a busy world we're living in. Let's keep moving on. That's about all I've got to say. I'm going to tip Carlos Ortiz because he played really well at the US Open. And otherwise, you've got to tip Joaquin Neiman, don't you?
What?
Tyrell Corporation. So he also played well.
How did he keep his head after what happened to him on the 17th at Oakmont?
Hang on, are there any centreline bunkers at this golf course?
I didn't notice, mate.
Well, still,
if they are, they'll have really steep, deep faces.
Bryson, who lives in Dallas, local kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's been promoting this event as if it's his hosted event.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's okay.
Let's keep it going. And when you're hot, as Logue rightly identified in our deep planning meeting we hold every week, by how the show is, no one else could preview the PGA Tour's Rocket Classic other than
I've got to tell you, this, and it's now recorded, this workplace harassment is going to stop. At some point I'll have had enough. That's two, Jimmy. That's 2 already this episode.
We'll go into
classic rocket. It's classic rocket banter.
Yeah, that's just there you go. Yeah. At least 2 of us are having fun. Detroit Golf Club, I think it's been 6 years this has been played now. The tournament was inaugurated 6 years ago. North course at the Detroit Golf Club. 2 18-hole courses, both Donald Ross, which is actually fairly rare. Not so rare, both courses, all the greens have been messed with, the trees have grown in, and it doesn't really resemble that well the Donald Ross course that was originally planted there. But having said that, yes, you can expect that there'll be at least some interest from the course in that sense. The scoring here tends to be good, obviously a field of this calibre. 6 events so far. 4 of the 6 years, more than 20 under has won. 23, 24, 26 under par. The other 2 years, 18 under. Yep. So when it plays tough, it's sort of not unexpected. It doesn't really reflect much about the course. These players are incredibly good, as we know, and that's how it works. So the field's understandably weak, for want of a better term, because obviously we've come off this major. I've got major fatigue. Mm-hmm. Women's champions, PGA. It's just... It's constant. Colin Morikawa is the highest ranked player at number 5 in the world, highest ranked in the field. Others of note, Cantlay, Cameron Young, Keegan Bradley, who won last year. Your man Logue, Ben Griffin, of course. Tony Finau, Danny Willett. That's the kind of standard of the field. No duds amongst them, but not the biggest names in the game. So we just call that just a week-to-week PGA Tour event. Yeah. Interesting names. Akshay Bhatia, I think he's always interesting. Hideki's playing. Doug Gim and Norman Zhong. Did I imagine them being sort of amateur celebrities 5 or 6 years ago? Yeah. The next big wave of the game?
Doug Gim played in that Walker Cup in that LA Country Club. Oh, LA Country Club.
You know, Ricky and all those, Jake Lovelock. And Norman Zhong came out and played an Australian Open.
That's right, he did too.
Lakes. Yeah. Hit the ball further than anyone I reckon I've ever seen. I watched him play some holes and thought this kid's going to be unbelievable. And has spent most of his time playing the corner. Yeah. I think nicknamed Panda.
Panda?
Big,
nice.
Solid kid.
Yeah.
Doug Gim, I think, wears a bucket hat these days.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh. I feel like he might have been a Colin Morikawa teammate.
It feels like you might be right about that.
Same class.
I think Doug Gim is the one that Ewan Porter speaks about. Ewan Porter covered that LACC Walker Cup. And walked away thinking this is going to be the best player of this lot.
Yep.
And it was Scheffler, there was all these guys on that team.
Yeah.
And he's the one who shows how hard it is.
There was a lanky American in that team as well who...
Jamie Love.
Was it Love?
No.
What, 6'12"?
No.
Big, tall.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, among the Australians in the field, we've got Minwoo, Cam Davis, who's won this twice, including last year, Aaron Baddeley, and Harrison Endicott. So that tells you how sort of far we've gone. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I didn't realise that. I haven't seen his name for quite some time.
Avondale's own.
Very good story written by Adam Pengilly a couple of weeks ago about Harrison. He's had a couple of...
You mentioned it, I think, now that you say that. Yeah.
Dramas in life and took a step away.
Well, best of luck to him this week. I'm hoping he'll have a good week. I'm going to tip Minwoo after Minjee's success.
Yeah.
And he finished tied second here last year, which doesn't hurt when you make a prediction like Minwoo might do well this week. Could go either way, of course.
I'm just looking at that 2017 Walker team just out of interest. Stuart Haggerstad was probably the one.
That's not who I'm thinking of. No.
Look at this for a team. Cameron Champ, Doug Gim, Stuart Haggerstad, Maverick McNeely, Colin Morikawa, Doc Redmond, Scotty Scheffler, Braden Thornbury, Norman Zhong, Will Zellers.
It was Braden Thornbury I was thinking of.
Yeah.
He's I just was looking up to do my research. A member of Faraday.
Oh, is he?
Okay.
There you go.
Minwoo for you.
Minwoo for me.
Cam Davis, who's won
twice, yep.
Yeah.
Not playing particularly well, but this could be one of those things.
Work out the mystery that is Cam Davis. Maybe he's a horse for course.
Could be.
So I'm going to back that.
I'm staying in the Cameron zone and going with Cameron Young.
Nice. I thought about him.
I thought about Cameron Young too.
We all thought about him. I thought about Akshay.
Yeah, I didn't give Akshay any thought. I tell you what, I didn't want to.
I thought about.
I didn't want to, but I thought about Patrick Cantlay. Sorry.
We've got plenty of thought about.
Do you get half a point if a thought about wins?
It's almost as disappointing as the jam donuts we had.
There's nothing disappointing about those.
Let's keep moving and onto some team golf action on the LPGA and this week's Dow Championship at Midland Country Club in Midland, Michigan. What's Midland, Michigan all about? Well, that's where Dow are headquartered. And there we are, of course, all know.
What did Dow do? I just wanted to say that, sorry.
To the internet, an industry-leading chemical producer for the pulp and paper market with solutions that enhance performance, global compliance, and cost efficiency.
In a digital world.
I was truly hoping it was something to do with Dow Finsterwald, but no.
They used to be Dow.
No, I knew it was Dow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not a name that would fly in modern era, is it? Dow Chemicals.
The course itself has some interesting features.
Dow Jones?
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you try and find out about Dow. You get a lot of Dow Jones.
Yeah.
The course has some interesting stuff. Water is in play quite a lot late in the round, and that's kind of the interest in this format, I suppose. Scoring is generally pretty good, but it isn't kind of really the star of this week because it's all about team golf and it's not international teams. It's two-player teams like the Zurich Classic on the PGA Tour. But if you start doing some research, you'll know Alden B. Dow designed the clubhouse. He's the son of Herbert Dow, who started Dow Chemical.
Wow.
So there's a bit of nepotism going on.
As in architect design, like he drew up the plans for the clubhouse, you mean? Well, there you go.
Wow.
I've always wanted to pretend to be an architect.
Yeah. I don't doubt it.
But if I did, like you, went to the website to get a read, and I am going to read this out because it is
Too much. People need to know.
Brace yourself.
Inform, educate, and entertain.
the word pristine. Stop. New paragraph.
Nice.
It's
Bold.
No rapture, though.
The morning dew fades away and the sun slowly rises over the beautiful Midland Country Club golf course. The quiet sounds of Snake Creek wandering through the course and the warm, gentle breeze bring the excitement of what's to come. 18 holes and 6,400 yards of beautiful golf course surround the clubhouse as each hole is tended to by our professional grounds crew.
Sorry. That's sick. Honestly, who allows that? A, who writes that? And B, who puts that out publicly? That is really nonsense.
Yeah.
You'd hope they're grounds crew.
I guess this is a thing, though, isn't it? Golf clubs just putting ridiculous copy up on their websites.
The most interesting element is arguably par 318 all over water. It's a good finish.
Is that interesting?
Yeah, it's different.
Is it? I don't feel like I've seen a whole bunch of it the last few weeks.
Yeah, potentially. But the last 2 years, the winning margin has been a shot. So when you get a par 3 with all
Yeah, true.
and the green's kind of multiple tiered and you can hit it up into the safe spot, but it's hard to make a putt. So it does.
Things can happen there. That's the
Most interesting teams would be Gino Titikum and Ronnie Yin, who are the defending champions. Sei Young Kim and Austin Kim, who was Sunday last week, exciting. Jennifer Kupcho and Leona McGuire make the pair to me.
I agree.
I saw a photo last week. It was bitten by something or had issues with tick bites and has got these blisters on her hands. And her sister's having to tend to them as she plays.
Wow.
Interesting to see how that'll go. Lydia Ko teams up with Danielle Kang.
Interesting as well.
Interesting pairing. Hei-Yan Ru and Rose Zhang. There's a number of Australians in the field: Karis Davison, Cassie Porter, Sarah Kemp, a few more than here in Naveed. None of them are playing together.
No.
Which is
Interesting. I agree. But I suppose it tells you, who knows, this is the other thing we don't know about the tour, who's friends with who. And it's often quite surprising to find out who some of the top players' closest friends are.
I go and play with younger Australians. Yeah, but she played with some of the American friends, like exactly that. They've all got friends you don't really expect. So, who's going to win? I'm going to go with Ayaka Fure and Naren.
Nice.
What?
Would you like us to come back to you?
I thought about Ayaka Fure.
So did I.
But I'm going to go with her countrywoman Nasa Hataoka and Lauren Coughlin.
Yeah, it's a good pairing, isn't it?
Pairings that I thought was an interesting matchup.
Well, it's tough though because there's foursomes, isn't there? And that's always an unknown. You find players who play foursomes who play really well together that you're surprised by, and that's the one that sort of unlocks it. Anyway. Hira Naveed and Sophia Garcia, because I had a look at last year's leaderboard. I think they were just outside the top 10, maybe 5 or 6 shots back. So they've teamed up well before. And we know Hira's a good player and she's capable of shooting really low numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Sophia Garcia, but they clearly teamed well together. No reason why they couldn't. Be good to see Hira.
These team events are a good opportunity for a player like Hira Naveed to break through, like Ben Griffin did.
100%.
I agree. There's been a bit of history with this event, unheralded, as you probably could.
It's probably a more important week for Hira Naveed than Lydia Ko, I think it would be safe to say. So that sort of.
Years ago, Cheyenne Knight and Elizabeth Skogel won.
Yeah.
And Kupcho won with a different partner. So maybe she's just a great teammate. Who knows? We keep moving and turn to our National Open expert, Adrian Logue, for the Italian Open or the
Open to Italy.
Italian. It's not that hard.
Horrendous.
That was literally teed up and you had an air
halfway
swing.
through, I was like, should I?
Yes.
Is it? Okay, I didn't want to seem.
What do you mean, is it? What do you mean, is it?
I didn't want to seem like that guy trying to speak Italian. But, you know.
Do it every single
I want to Australianize it. Like, open to Italy.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
All right, I'm sticking with that. Anyway, this is being played at Argentario.
Having just said you weren't going to be that guy.
And then produce that from
Argentario.
If you were a
Golf
nicer person, I'd edit that out, but I'm not.
Which is on Monte Argentario in Tuscany. Very beautiful site, apparently. It's set on a reclaimed coastal promontory.
Reclaimed?
No, it was once a waste site. That's the reclaimed bit.
So they've gone onto some waterway in Tuscany, turned it into a rubbish dump,
Yep.
and then said later on, actually, we probably should make that a golf course. That'd be nicer.
Yeah.
Good thinking. They're great for golf courses, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Royal North Turramurra. Half of that set on a rubbish dump. Thousands of indigenous trees and plants were put into the landscape and to restore this coastal promontory to its former glory. And the club prides itself on sustainability, uses organic maintenance practices, and even created safe bird nesting islands.
Two things.
I imagine bird nesting areas are a very important part of coastal promontories.
An important part of everything, including the urban landscape. I mean, in fact, golf courses do a fabulous job of being sanctuaries for birds.
Indeed.
Because they need big-ish places to gather and congregate.
It was designed in 2006 and has undergone a few sort of touch-ups, but it's hosted these events before. Sorry, it's the debut of this one, but it's hosted some other big events in Italy. So anyway, that's enough about Argentario. Well, I know enough now to want to switch on and have a look at it on TV, I think.
Next week we'll check.
That kind of Italian style of golf.
Yeah, very laid back.
Very pretty. It's all, I mean.
Yep. Some local colour will be provided by Guido Migliozzi. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the players to watch are probably Connor Syme, John Parry. Always one to watch. Ewan Ferguson, it pains me to say. Is,
he's back on the rotation.
Probably has to be someone to consider here. David Micheluzzi. I don't know, is Micheluzzi an Italian name?
It is indeed. He's Italian.
He went all right here last year, did he not? I had a look at the results. I think he finished tied 10th.
Marcel Siem as well. But my pick for this week, a few Australians. There's Jason Scrivener. Daniel Gale is playing aforementioned Micheluzzi and Elvis.
I believe I just had notification Brett Coletta last.
Oh, Brett Coletta, did get in. Yeah, last man in the field. The pick for me, though, is one of the hotter players in Europe this year and coming in with quite good form is Christopher Raytan.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah, very much so. But we'll get to see something.
A name we haven't mentioned a lot here, but so
we'll see them next year on the PGA Tour. A lot of these sorts of names, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, very interested in a bit of Christopher.
It's a K and a double F, is it not? Yeah, the K and a double F, which is
correct.
Always
a
impressive.
lot of past wins from that part of Europe at the Italian, which is quite a historic event. Been around for
same with Europe and in Asia. You look up these tournaments that you just and you see they go back 70, 80, 90 years. They've got amazing lists of winners. It's good to see.
Great carrier Italian.
Is that right? Now, I didn't know that.
Really?
Woman as well, yeah.
Remember Norman winning it?
I'll also tell you that Hassan Neem of Egypt won in 1949.
Oh, wow.
The only Egyptian I'm aware of.
There's a story in that. There's got to be a story in that.
And of course, Laurie Van Donk.
Belgian legend, Laurie Van Donk. There's a story in that too.
Yeah, that's it.
Marco, I don't know whether it's pronounced Penge or Pengi, but the winner of the Phantom tournament in China. It will be lovely to see him get home this week and actually watch him win a golf tournament as opposed to be fed some highlights 2 weeks later, which we're not sure whether they were AI generated or not.
Absolutely. It's good you mentioned China because I'm going to go with one of the Chinese players.
Yeah, been playing well too in Europe.
Really good young player.
Huge potential.
Massive.
Massive fan of the fact that he's occasionally nicknamed the Dinger. So I run on board.
Yep.
So
Imagine if his first name was Dow Ding.
Dow Ding. Yeah.
But, unfortunately it's not, so we can just dream of what.
Imagine if it was hyphen.
Or Dow Van Dong.
You'll call him Finsterwald. Finsterwald Ding.
Finally, the second over 50s major in the space of 2 weeks. This time the US Senior Open, which heads to the Broadmoor. Arguably, probably, not even arguably, I think the biggest of the senior majors, this one.
Any Open, national, the British and US Opens in every category are the two leading majors.
Senior British Opens going up and up and up. They often use it as a testing to go to sites that they haven't been to with the other one. But the US Senior Open is done very well.
Proper golf tournament.
The Broadmoor is something of a famous institution in America. It's a large and fairly ostentatious resort in Colorado Springs.
Well, it's both broad and wants more.
Yes. And here at the Broadmoor is where George W. Bush apparently woke up in, I think, 1989. Such a severe hangover, he decided to quit drinking forever.
Oh, so good bar.
Oh, really? Oh.
So the bar's good. Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. Fun fact.
Imagine if that happened.
A fun fact. Yesterday, a mate of mine played in the group ahead of George W. Bush at Arundel Hills, or where I think Cape Arundel.
Quite a good golf.
Yeah, the swing looked all right around the announcement of the golf war, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Watch this drive.
Yeah,
that is a flex.
That was so good. I love it. Yeah. Oh.
Well, wasn't his grandfather, isn't the Walker Cup named after George Herbert Walker Bush, the grandfather?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
George Bush was very, very into his golf.
More innocent times.
That's all right. Once you're president, apparently, you just get gimmies from wherever you like, so don't worry about the years. That's all you need to do, Jimmy, and you'll be back off a handicap at 2 in no time.
US Senior Open has been here before, so has the US Women's Open. The East course is the host, so there's 36 holes here, east and west. There's been a third golf course built twice.
Actually built.
Yeah, it was called the Mountain Course, I think, at one stage, and it was called maybe the Black Course at another. Built there, landslide, gone, left it for a number of years, and then went,
let's have another go.
And then in 2015, rock slide.
Oh.
There it goes again.
Wow.
They've got
Fool me once.
Yeah, have another go at it, yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, fellas, common sense says.
The East is a Donald Ross design that Robert Trent Jones updated in the early 50s, and it's probably going to be the best golf course we'll see this week in terms of all these tournaments. So it is kind of what you'd expect, but it'll be good. It'll be a very good golf course for this kind of event. In terms of the field, quite interestingly, Richard Bland isn't defending. He's instead playing LIV Golf.
He has to. He's on a contract.
Oh, that's the kind of thing. But I think he did duck out of an event or two last year to go play a senior major.
Did he?
I think from memory, but I'm not 100%. But it's interesting because he almost is more used to LIV wearing his cleats
100%.
at Senior Open.
100%.
Yeah.
Coming tied 35th at Marida.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they've done that.
Just note down that tied 35th tip of yours for Richard Bland, and add that to the list of wins for the year if he does finish tied 35th.
Otherwise, the two Angels, Miguel and Cabrera, the hot tickets in PGA Tour Champions Golf at the majors this year. It seems you have to be a Spanish speaker to win a major championship. And believe me, I tried to find another one, but
it's a recent phenomenon.
There's a couple other guys who are going to play, but I don't think they're going to win. Otherwise, you've got your usuals, the big names of the past that we all know play well out here. Langer, Els, Montgomery, Steve Alker. There's 10 Australians. I won't go through them all, but Steve Allens and Matt Goggin in the field this week.
Oh, go, Matt.
Again, a really good, solid contingent. Richard Green keeps knocking on the door of these events. He has to win once.
You would think.
Imagine. So tips, I am going to go with Matt Goggin because
Wow. It'd be so good, wouldn't it?
very hard at his golf and still hits it a long way comparatively with these guys. Is still an elite ball striker, and the kind of US Open golf is what gets Matt.
And he's been on site down there at 7 Mile with all of the sort of pre-play play. I imagine he's been playing quite a bit, probably playing with some pretty good players, which would all be good. Because Broadmoor, it's not a narrow fairways, long rough kind of course. It's a much more short grass around the greens, and yeah, that'd be great to see.
Rod, a tip.
I'm going to go with Alka, who finished second last week. It'd just be nice to see. Yeah. He kind of deserves a senior major. Peter Senior never got his. I put Steve Alka in a similar category. This second career that he's had.
He hasn't won a senior major.
Peter Senior?
No.
Oh, Steve Alka? No, I don't think so. Did he? Oh, did he?
There's so many of them.
Well, they kind of are. I got major fatigue. I don't know. It's every week, it seems.
What?
I thought about Pato. El Pato.
Have you got a TA column over there, where you put down the thought? You might want to add a third column.
But, he disappointed me. I thought he was going for the major slam, the senior major slam, but he, failed. Was it even? It was last week, wasn't it? There's 2 majors in a row.
Well, it's the funky major last week, wasn't it?
The majors, I got a couple.
So, anyway, Padraig Harrington, surely he's going to... Has he won one of these? He should just dominate this tour, shouldn't he?
Should, Dan.
Yeah, you would have thought so, but...
Oh. Well, doesn't that kind of speaks to motivation? I was going to say at the top of the show, actually, Jimmy, in our opening clips, the little montage at the start of the podcast, one of them is Minjee after she won the US Women's Open, talking about how this is the one she's wanted to win ever since she was a little girl. You wonder the impact of that, because she kind of fell off the radar after that. Yeah. We've seen Rory has achieved the dream. David Duval, his career basically ended once he'd won the Open. The hangover from that, maybe.
She said yesterday the one winning the KPMG was the one she probably deserved the most. She worked so hard for it.
It was a different win, wasn't it?
The change and everything she's had to work from. She said, US Open is without doubt my favourite. Let's make that clear. But I deserve this one in terms of the work I've done. And that's the most rewarding.
Putting stats were off the charts with that long putter, especially in the wind where you'd think it would be it'd be the opposite.
I don't know. You let me know did pretty well as well, and I don't know. Maybe long putter's an advantage in the wind. Jimmy,
it depends.
Not anchored though. I mean, anchored I could see it, but not anchored.
Yeah, it's unintuitive, isn't it?
As the first time you'll do it with a strong wind, but they're heavier. The shaft is heavier.
Yeah,
it's got more sort of mass moving in one direction.
Could be it. Yeah,
doesn't blow around as much as you. Yeah.
That will just about do us for episode 118.
Finally. Yeah.
Final question for everyone. Rod, if you were Keegan Bradley, would you pick yourself for the Ryder Cup?
No.
Good answer. Although we already know how you feel about your own golf, so you would obviously pick yourself. Today, all the golfing action from around the globe via Golf Australia magazine website, Golf Australia.
Hang on. Would you?
No.
Thank you.
Actually,
what if he plays his way on?
it's going to be 100% they draft in another captain.
It's a disaster.
Okay, that would be so disruptive, bringing another captain in with like only a few months to go.
Captain, because he wouldn't want to have to go to all the events and do
Yeah.
But to step in at the last minute, just be Tiger.
any of the other stuff and just be Tiger in a team room.
Oh, great take.
Co-captain.
Yeah, okay.
Call him co-captain.
All right.
100% what could have been already worked out as soon as they picked Bradley and thought, what happens if we do this?
What's the backup plan?
Yep. And Bradley will just get gifted a captaincy later on.
And again, the Tiger might be a calming influence on what's going to be a very raucous Ryder Cup, like genuine concerns.
True.
There in September.
True.
Yes, as I said, golfaustralia.com.au for all your golf news, and the July issue of Golf Australia magazine is out now. Rory McIlroy on the cover, and a look at what his return to Australia means. Brendan James covers the best budget-conscious metro golf around the country.
Right man for the job, too.
Canterbury Golf Club, maybe. Fairfield.
Yeah, absolutely. All those places. I wrote a story about Glenn Grant.
Which you've alluded to a couple of times on the podcast, so it'll be good to finally read that.
And there's a look at the prolific development junior program that occurred in Federal Golf Club in the 1980s and has produced people like Cole Swap as well. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week on Playing from the Tips.